Phoebe from Street Style Surgery, and I'm recording this how-to for Play Place Youth Clubs. We're going to be making these shadow puppet theatres. We're also going to be making the set and the characters that we want in them. So, the first thing we're going to focus on is making the theatre itself. What you're going to need for this is one cereal box, one glue, tape, scissors, a sharp pencil, a pen, and a sheet of plain white paper. So, first thing we're going to do is tape up these top bits. So just take one strip of tape, secure that down. Then the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to create this area. So what we need to do for this is to measure about 1 centimetre away from the edge on all the corners and draw around it. So I'm just going to do it by eye. You can measure it and do it with a ruler if you want. So that's what you end up with. Line all the way around the outside. So now we're going to cut out all along the line. The best way to do this is to get a sharp pencil, make a hole in the middle, and then you can poke your scissors in and start cutting. So there you'll see you've got the box with a lip on all edges. So the next step is that we're going to cut out the whole back. So not leaving a gap this time, the whole back's going to come off. So again, I'm going to take my pencil, my sharp pencil, make a hole, and then cut from there. Now what we're left with is this side is completely open, and the other side, like we did before, has the small lip. Sometimes with some cereal boxes bits come unstuck, but that's fine. Just get your glue and glue them back together. So the final step for this is to attach the paper. What we need to do first is to make sure it's the right size. So we're going to lay our box on top so that we can draw around it. My tip is to line your box right up with the corner so that you only have to do 1 or 2 cuts. So now I've got my box lined up. I'm going to draw around it. This box is quite big, so it only needs 1 line at the bottom. And now I've got a piece of paper like this. I'm going to cut along it. Cut along the black line. Now I have my piece of paper that's the right size, and I can fasten it to the box. I'm going to be using the side of the box that has the lip on it. So what you need to do is glue all along the lip, put a nice amount of glue on. I don't want the paper to come off. All around the outside. Just do it quite gently. And once you've done that, you take your paper, just stick it down, lining it up nicely. So now what you're left with is your theatre. Okay, so the next step is to decorate the theatre. So you've got options with this. You can decorate it however you like. This one that I showed you earlier, I've made these little curtains at the side, and I've painted the walls on the inside, and I made this bunting for the top. I also made different version which is much more colourful and vibrant, and I just used Sharpie pens and coloured paper. So with this option, what I did was I used this ribbon to make the curtains. I used just acrylic paint to paint the sides and the bottom. This top bit, the bunting, what I did was I drew on a piece of coloured card. I drew a line about 1 centimetre big, and then drew pencil zigzag lines underneath, and then you just have to cut out along the zigzag, and you end up, and you can flip it over so you don't have those pencil lines, and you end up with a nice bunting kind of thing to stick on the top, with the bottom to make the kind of floorboard design. You can just take a piece of card. I used a bit of card from the box that we cut out earlier, and then you can either paint or colour it in brown and then draw black lines onto it. So that's the decoration, and then it's up to you whether you decorate the outside too. You can do it with paint, paper, whatever you like. So then the final stage is making your scenery and your characters. So again, with this you have options. You can do, if you have a printer, you can print things, images that you found on the internet, and then if you stick them to some card, like this. So printer paper is quite thin, so it doesn't work so well just to cut that out. So to make it right for these puppets, if you take something that you've printed and then you stick it onto the card, and then I did this earlier, then you cut around it, then you end up with this nice cutout shape, and it's nice and thick. Another option is to use images that you found in magazines or newspapers. So this one is something that I found in a magazine. I did the same thing. I stuck it onto some card and I cut around it. And then you can also just make up your own designs, like I did with this tree. So once you've got your cutout shape, what works really well for the stick is just a twig. So when you're out on your daily walk, if that's what you're doing, you can collect some little twigs from trees, and then if that's not an option for you, another good thing to use is just pencils. So with those, you can stick it onto the back using tape. So just take a little bit of tape, it works quite well if you line it up with one of the limbs, or if it's the tree, you line it up with the trunk, or if it's the house, you line it up with a bit of the wall, because then it doesn't create a shadow. So I'm just going to stick that twig there, and then we have our elephant shadow puppet. And then once you've made as many characters and scenery as you want, the last thing to do is just to get your light and your theatre ready. So I used just this standard lamp, and then if you take your theatre right to the edge of a table, this means that you can use the puppets behind it without causing a shadow from your hand. So if you do that, and then you shine the light directly behind it, and then let's try out the elephant, and then you can play with the shadow puppets. And you can, if you hold them closer to the light, they get really big. If you hold them closer to the paper, they get smaller again. These are definitely best when you've got a few people and you can make lots of different characters and create a whole story. So I hope you have lots of fun making your own shadow puppet theatres.